Welcome to Deep Dive. I'm your host, Kevin Benedict, and I want to thank you for joining us today. I'm so excited to be here in Bellevue, Washington on a sunny day with Kim Albrecht. Kim, thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Kim is the CMO of SAP Concur, and when I hear people talk in the marketplace about spend management, they're talking about Fieldglass, they're talking about SAP Ariba, but Concur is always a big topic. And when I talk to my friends within SAP, they're like, Concur is hitting a home run.
Oh, that's fantastic.
So
I'm
both
glad.
external and internal feedback as you guys are doing some really fun stuff.
I think we are doing some fun stuff. So thank you. Yeah.
So we'll dig into that.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah. So before we get started, if you guys haven't met Kim before, Kim, give us a little bit about your background and how you ended up in this room.
So I started my career about 3 decades ago. When in Fargo, North Dakota, at a small software company there that did accounting software. I've spent my entire career in B2B applications and most of it in business process. And so I spent 20 years in accounting and financial management. I did a stint at Concur for a period about 5 years ago. And then I moved into a company that you can actually create your own workflows around business process. And then I came back to Concur just a year ago. So yeah, it's exciting. So, my entire career is B2B software. I've only been in tech. I've worked at Great Plains, at Microsoft, at Concur, at a company called Nintex, and now here at SAP. So it's been quite a journey. Yeah.
So do you miss Fargo?
I do miss Fargo. So I spent the bulk of my career in Fargo. But when we got acquired by Microsoft, I had an opportunity. Then I did a lot of travel between Fargo and Redmond, obviously. But I had teams in Fargo, Redmond, Copenhagen, London. So I actually did quite a bit of travel. And Microsoft made the decision to move, the headquarters, if you will, from Fargo to Redmond. And with that, it was, we had the opportunity then to basically to relocate, to not only sort of preserve your role, but to have an opportunity to work in the broader Microsoft ecosystem. So that's what brought me from Fargo to the Seattle area. But I loved living and growing up in Fargo. It is a great place. It's a great place.
That's so much fun to talk about.
Yeah.
So when you were back in Fargo and along the way, did you aspire to be in a CMO?
I did not. I did not aspire to.
How'd that happen?
In a CMO role. I mean, I think like most people, there's an evolution of your career over time. And when I first started my career, I actually started in telesales and tech support. Mm-hmm. And that's really where you have an opportunity to get very close to the customer and have a deep understanding of the product. And I actually moved into a marketing role doing competitive intelligence before the internet.
Ooh,
and
that is a whole different world.
It is, absolutely. It's back when you learned about your competitors by having conversations directly with them, mm-hmm. or through channel partners, or even at trade shows. Right, a lot of face to face. Very, very different than it is today. But when I was in graduate school, I had taken some communications courses, and while I was at Great Plains, I had an opportunity to be tapped to run the public relations and analyst relations functions because of the work that I'd been doing in competitive research and market research. And the great thing for me on that is that while I didn't have a formal background in communications, I had a really strong mentor and manager, and he taught me what I needed to know from a comms perspective.
Interesting.
I had a chance to take Great Plains public and really work on the communications around an IPO. I had an opportunity to work on the communications around the acquisition of Microsoft, and then obviously, really have an opportunity to drive the sort of the overall narrative and awareness of Great Plains, and then subsequently the Dynamics group inside of Microsoft. And so, part of this, Kevin, was just an evolution over time.
Yep.
And, taking advantage of opportunities when they come to you. Like I hadn't been looking to drive comms or PR, but when approached, it's like, okay, this sounds good. And I think part of it is when you have those opportunities do something different, or in addition to the work that you're doing, you take it on. I think part of that, honestly, is the Midwest heritage in me, which is, get it done. And so if there's a need in the business to have you jump in and help, you do. And, that's just sort of how you behave. And, I've been fortunate that I've had a number of opportunities. I've had strong sponsors and mentors, but I didn't expect that this would be, where I would end up. But it's been a fantastic, it's been a great journey. And I think, part of it along the way is that, you have the opportunity to work with incredible people. Mm-hmm. And, even here at SAP Concur, I joined just a little over a year ago. And I didn't join to become the chief marketing officer. Again, it was one of those things that the person who had been in the role, departed for another opportunity. Mm-hmm. And so, it was an opportunity for me to step into the CMO role. And I have been incredibly supported by the marketing team and the leadership team here. It's been really great.
That is great. I love a good story.
It is a good story. Thank
awesome.
you. Yeah.
One of my favorite quotes from Benjamin Franklin is, and I'm going to mess it up, but basically what he says is, if you just pay attention to what you're doing every day, the future will take care of itself.
Yeah.
So you don't have to plan how you're going to get there. If you just do your best and do a good job every day, the future just kind of unfolds for you.
I think that I would be a living example of that. I really do.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So I personally had the opportunity to use Concur. And in a couple different companies, we use Concur.
Yeah.
So I'm familiar with a lot of it. But for those out there in the audience that don't know what SAP Concur is, why don't you just give us an overview?
Well, absolutely. I mean, so SAP Concur is an integrated travel expense and invoice solution. And, SAP Concur has really been, pioneering this field. So, expense reports are something that most people hate to do, especially when you have the pile of receipts. And Concur was founded over 25 years ago to automate that process of making it much easier to do an expense report. And then, through the vision of the leaders at the time, they also realized that a lot of those expenses were generated as a result of business travel. Mm-hmm. So what would happen if you could integrate your travel booking system and your expense report together so that all of your transactions that happen when you travel automatically pre-populate your expense report?
And the company policies.
Exactly. Because you're in your managed travel program.
Yeah.
And even today, for those companies that either don't have a managed travel program or they want to provide a level of flexibility to their travelers to say, go ahead and book in any, Starwood property. Yeah. We have the capability through our TripLink product to bring those transactions in, and the same thing with have them pre-populate your expense report.
Oh, that's beautiful. Anything you can do to improve that, that's beautiful.
Yeah, the whole goal is to sort of, we like to say eliminate the expense report. And it's not literally the idea that you wouldn't have one, it's the idea that you wouldn't have to complete it.
Yes.
That it's pretty much done for you because of all of the transactions are automatically integrated in. Yeah.
So Concur over 20 years old, right?
25, yeah.
25 years old.
Yep.
So that's before a lot of the digital transformation even came around.
Yes.
The amount of data that's available today is massive relative to when Concur started.
That is correct, yes.
So how has, walk us through kind of how the digital transformation impacted travel industry and how Concur has molded that into today's product.
Yeah, I think that, so you're right about sort of this incredible amount of data. And I think as it relates to the travel industry, there are things that we can do with that data to make the travel experience better. So for example, we have a product called Locate and Active Monitoring. And the whole idea with that is that, again, based on that itinerary data, we know where you are as an employee in your travels. Mm-hmm. So if something happens, so I was actually in Japan last week, mm-hmm. and a typhoon was about to approach, the Tokyo area. And so, that is a perfect example where I get alerts on my phone that the typhoon is coming, and again, sort of to make the necessary arrangements to, sort of to be safe. And by having, all of that happened because of that data from my itinerary that happened to go on the system. It could track where I was, it knew where I was at, and knew that I was traveling to Japan to make sure that I could get there, ahead of the storm, as an example.
And that means one platform can know where all employees are.
Yes.
Based on the data that's in the platform.
That is correct.
So you don't have to have somebody in HR calling 1,000 different people to find you.
Right. And you can do things on this, and send alerts out to employees, sort of on anything, whether it's, something from a natural incident, or perhaps even the power goes out in your building. That happened a few weeks ago. I would have loved to not walked up 10 floors, because the elevator was out. Like, hey, come, we're repairing it. Or sort of anything. So that the nice thing is that you have that platform. But sort of that's one example. But we also have examples with the data that we can make sort of informed recommendations. So an example would be based on the data of where you stayed, for example, in hotel properties, and combining that with future travel, it can make recommendations. Like we know you like to stay in Starwood properties.
Yes.
These are in travel policy. You could do things like that. What I think is really interesting with the data, of course, is what we can use with it. But I love what we can use the data for with our customers in an aggregate form.
Mm-hmm.
So we're able to take the data in an aggregate form and have conversations with our customers about sort of best-in-class processes to improve the operations of their company. So here's an example. If we're able to see an aggregate data that that a company might be spending a lot on ground transportation, we might say, look, relative to other companies of your size or your industry, you're spending a lot of money on ground transportation. Have you looked at using alternate sources like Uber?
Yes.
And we have an integration with Uber, so again, that all of that data, from Uber or Uber for Business would automatically flow in. And those are things that we can do as well using, again, it's all anonymized. I want to be clear that it's not personalized info, but we can take that and really provide, a level of analysis and benchmarks to help our companies, I'll use the SAP phrase, run at their best.
Yes.
And so, I think the power of the data is how not only how we can use it to make a travel experience better, but how it can be used to make the operations of our customers better.
Absolutely, and that seems to be a good example of the phrase I hear often here at SAP, intelligent spend. Right?
Yes.
So talk to us more about intelligent spend in the travel industry.
So I think, so intelligent spend, how we're looking at it here at SAP, we're really looking at sort of all sources and all categories of spend. So that's why, one of the reasons that we're working together with the Ariba and Fieldglass teams on all of the spend. If we look at it in the travel industry, the interesting thing in travel is that you have sort of managed travel and unmanaged travel. And so in managed travel, these are programs where there are corporate travel policies. There are generally preferred suppliers that you book the travel with because you've negotiated these discounts. It's very important. Again, the travel managers and the procurement team work really hard, to get that done. But we also know that there are times that maybe you're at a conference and you need to book outside the travel program because you're staying at a hotel property where that conference is. And we want to make sure that in those situations that there's an opportunity to capture that data as well. And so part of it is that, again, through the systems that we have, we can collect everything, whether it's information on the itinerary that you already have through your managed program, or working with the suppliers who have built those direct connections with us to feed that data in. Again, we can give that view to the travel manager and to the company and really capture all of the spend that happens outside of a managed program or an unmanaged program. With our Concur Invoice product, which isn't related to business travel, that's a product for really, again, sort of those unmanaged procurement scenarios. Yeah. So you have a system like Ariba that has a managed procurement, again, with preferred suppliers. You're really working to generate all of it through a purchase order process. But for a lot of small and mid-sized businesses, they don't have a purchase order process, but they want to be able to capture that spend in some way. And that's how we're able to do that with Concur Invoice and get those transactions, again, captured and processed and all collected in that data set of where you're spending your money.
So do you ever does Concur have any kind of integration with like Amex?
Absolutely, yes.
So that you can see, you guys manage some travel, but then there's restaurants and things like that. That would be in Amex, but not necessarily in Concur.
That is correct.
So you're bringing some of those together so you can be more intelligent about the whole trip.
Yeah. So I mean, the interesting thing with American Express is they are a significant strategic partner for SAP Concur on two fronts. One, you have the American Express card. Okay. So all of your card transactions, again, automatically feed into your expense report. So, using that card to pay for your taxi, using that card to pay for your dinner, using that card for anything, all of those transactions will feed in. And the other side is American Express Business Travel. And they are what's called a travel management company. And they can use and SAP Concur to book the travel transactions on behalf of a number of our customers. So, American Express is a strategic partner for us. And absolutely, we work with them on both the card side and the travel side.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
So talk to me about your target market. Is it the CFO? Is it the Chief Revenue Officer? Who is it?
The finance audience is definitely our target customer. So, in a large enterprise, that would be a CFO. But in a small and mid-sized business, that might be a controller or even, somebody in the finance department. And then we also have those travel managers. And sometimes travel managers sit in finance and sometimes they sit in procurement. But really, I would say the CFO and the travel managers are the target audiences for the Concur solution.
Fascinating. So give me some, let me just ask it this way. If you were talking to a junior marketer today, fresh out of university.
I have a daughter, okay. So I've got one.
So let's picture your daughter.
Yes.
What advice would you give your daughter or somebody that aspires to be a CMO someday? What skills should they start really working on so 10, 20 years from now, they can be a CMO? What skills do they need to start working on?
Well, I mean, I think so. We've seen marketing significantly transform, over the last, since I've been doing it. I'll say over the last, few decades. One of the big pieces that's really transforming marketing today is data, and the just like we were talking about how data is transforming the travel experience, or just even the visibility of spend, but it's also transforming marketing. And I think, as a marketer, it's really important to understand, what you're getting for what you do. And so I think being a data-driven marketer and taking a look at, what are the activities that are working, being able to measure those, I think it is important.
Understand statistics, understand data.
And absolutely. I mean, I think if you've had a combination of data science background together with marketing, I think it can be really powerful. I would also say, you've really got to take time to understand the customer. And so, one of the things that was such a great experience for me are the years that I spent in technical support on the phone, with the customers, with the software products, because I got a very good sense for their needs and their problems and how our software solutions were helping to solve those. So I think
that's invaluable.
It is, and it was actually almost a requirement for all roles at Great Plains to do a stint through support, which I actually think was a brilliant move at the time.
Oh yeah, because then you develop the empathy for the customers and the problems. Your own software, you recognize how you can improve your own software.
Definitely.
Workarounds, you name it. So when it comes to marketing, you kind of know where they're coming from.
Exactly.
You know what you can write, what copy will work, what imagery might work, all that.
All of that stuff. So I'd say, the data, the customer experience, those are things that just sort of core elements from a marketing perspective. And I think if you're looking to be a leader, a marketing leader, you really have to be a very good listener. I mean, when you reach a leadership level, you need to engage in a lot of coaching and people management and leadership discussions, and you've got to be able to, hear what the other people, whether it's somebody that works for you or a peer or a customer, are saying. And so I think we if there's a skill that I've really worked to try to develop, it's listening and just active listening. So, for example, sometimes I get teased if I'm in a meeting, I don't bring my laptop because it's too easy to multitask, right? So I'm still a paper notebook taker, and I get teased for that because I could be using a solution like OneNote. But for me, it works. And so I because I'm there for the meeting and want to be actively present and participating that way. So
if you could just limit your laptop to just that app. But no, it's your whole world.
Exactly. I mean, somebody pings you on IM, like, have a minute? No, I'm in the middle of a meeting. Or my phone too. Try not to even bring my phone, because again, the powerful devices that in the power that we have in our phone. So, like I said, for me, just really listening is critical and an important leadership trait.
Kim, thank you so much
You're
for
welcome.
sharing your world.
You're welcome.
with all
it's
of us
been a
out
pleasure.
there.
Thank you so much.
And I want to thank all you for tuning in.